Force and laws of motion. Force is an external cause that produces acceleration in the body on which it acts. A force is an effort that can cause a push or a pull. A force can change the shape of an object. Force can bring an object initially at rest into motion. It can also change the speed of a moving object. A force can stop a moving object. It can also change the direction of motion. It can be noticed that an object cannot change its state unless acted upon by an external force. That is, a force is required to initiate or stop the motion. Many forces act on a body simultaneously. For example, several persons may jointly make an effort to move a heavy cart. Here, each person applies a force on the cart, and these forces together produce some acceleration in the cart. However, the same acceleration can also be achieved if a stronger man pulls the cart hard enough. When a single force acting on a body produces the same acceleration as produced by a number of forces, then the single force is called the resultant force. When two persons apply the same force on the cart but in opposite direction and the cart remains at rest, the two forces are balanced. Or, if more than two forces are acting on a body producing no acceleration, the forces are again in the balanced condition. For example, if a car is moving with a uniform velocity, that is, there is no acceleration, in such a condition the car is under the action of balanced forces. And the forces acting on the car are the force of engine that tries to speed up the car, air resistance, and the ground friction that tries to slow down the speed of the car. And if a set of forces produces a non-zero acceleration, the forces are said to be unbalanced. The overall force resulting from a combination of individual forces acting on the body is called net force. When a non-zero net force acts on a body, the body accelerates in the direction of the net force. One can push an object in different directions. This indicates a force has a direction. And if the same force is applied on a small and a large object, their speeds are different, indicating they have different magnitude. This indicates a force has a magnitude. With his experiment, Galileo proved that no force is required to keep an object moving with uniform speed, provided friction is not present. Therefore, he concluded that it is the inherent property of the object that it keeps moving with constant speed along a straight line, unless acted upon by an external force. Newton summarized Galileo's conclusions mathematically, which is known as Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law states that an object at rest remains at rest as long as no net force acts on it. Similarly, an object moving with constant velocity in a straight line continues to move with same speed and in same direction as long as no net force acts on it. Before 1600, normal state of rest was considered as the natural state of matter. Galileo, through his experiment, described a different approach to motion and the natural state of matter. When a ball is released on a smooth surface having two ramps, it attains the same height again. If we make the second ramp steeper, the ball again attains the same height after travelling a larger distance. And if the ramp becomes horizontal, the ball would never stop, as it would never reach the same height and continue to move with same speed. It shows that an object moving with constant velocity continues to move with the same speed and in the same direction as long as no external force acts on it. No net force means either no force acts on the object or forces act on the object, but they have their sum equal to 0. Both the states of motion indicate an important property of matter, to oppose any change in the state of their motion or rest. Ability of an object to remain in a particular state is known as inertia. Thereby, Newton's first law is also known as law of inertia. In general, inertia is a measure of the response of an object to an external force. For example, let's take two balls of unequal masses. To move both the balls with the same velocity, one has to hit the heavier ball with a larger force. Similarly, if two cars of equal mass are moving with different velocities, it is obvious that the car having less speed can be stopped more quickly. Further, if two vehicles of unequal masses are moving with the same speed, then the lighter one can be stopped easily. These activities show that mass could be used to measure the inertia, and larger the mass, larger is the inertia. Inertia can be classified as the inertia of rest and the inertia of motion. In the inertia of rest, an object does not change its state of rest on its own. For example, a coin is placed over a card. Both the coin and the card are placed on a tumbler. On flicking a card, coin remains at rest for a moment, but finally falls into a tumbler due to the effect of the force of gravity. Similarly, in the game of carom board, when we strike at the lowermost coin with the striker with a speed, most of the coins remain at rest. Only the lowest one moves with the striker. Here, the upper coins remain in the state of rest, as no net force acts on them. In the inertia of motion, an object does not change its state of motion on its own. For example, when a train stops suddenly, the passengers sitting in the train are forced to bend in forward motion, since the upper part of the passenger's body remains in motion, whereas their lower part comes to rest. It has been found that by applying a unit force, a unit mass is accelerated by unit acceleration. Hence, one can measure the force as the product of mass and acceleration. This condition is known as Newton's second law of motion, according to which force is equal to the product of mass and acceleration, and the force acts in the direction of acceleration. SI unit of force is Newton. In CGS system, unit of force is dyne. 1 Newton can be defined as the force that acts on a body of mass 1 kilogram, producing an acceleration of 1 meter per second square. In the same way, inertia can also be classified as the inertia of direction. That is, when the object does not change its direction of motion on its own. For example, mud flying tangentially to the tire of the car. Newton's first law of motion tells us about the force and its effects. Newton's second law of motion tells us about the magnitude of the force. When we pull a body gently, a small acceleration is produced, and if we pull the body harder, more acceleration is produced. If we plot a graph between acceleration and force, it comes out to be a straight line graph with a positive slope. This shows that the acceleration achieved by the body directly depends upon the applied force. When we apply the same force on unequal masses, and it can be seen that on increasing the mass, acceleration decreases, and the graph between acceleration and mass again comes out a straight line graph, but with a negative slope. This shows that the acceleration attained by the body depends inversely upon the mass of the body. On combining the two conditions, acceleration depends upon the ratio of force and mass. In other words, force depends upon the product of mass and acceleration. When the net force acting on a body is zero, then the forces acting on the body are balanced forces, or the forces are in equilibrium. For example, when a book is at rest on a table, the force of gravity, that is, its weight, is acting on the book. Since the book is at rest, hence, the net force on the book must be zero, or in other words, there must be a force that balances the weight of the book. That is, magnitude of this force must be the same as that of the weight of the book, and the direction must be opposite to that of the weight. This upward force is provided by the table and is called normal reaction or the normal force. This shows that forces always occur in pairs. Such a pair of forces that is exerted by two bodies on each other is called an action-reaction pair. Any of the two forces may be called the action, and the other will be the reaction. It is clear that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is also known as Newton's third law of motion. For example, when a heavy load is put on the head of a porter, the load acts on the head in the downward direction, and the porter's head pushes the load in the upward direction. These forces are equal in magnitude but acting in opposite directions, and hence forming an action-reaction pair.
Conservation of momentum. Momentum is a commonly used term in sports. A team that has the momentum is on the move, and it is hard to stop the team. In physics, momentum refers to the quantity of motion and inertia that an object has. Since all objects have mass, so if an object is moving, then it has momentum. Hence, the momentum can be defined as mass in motion. It can also be defined as the tendency of an object to keep on moving with the same speed and in the same direction. Momentum associated with the linear motion is also called linear momentum. When two or more cars of equal mass are moving with different velocities, then the car with more velocity has more momentum. Similarly, if two or more vehicles of unequal masses are moving with the same velocity, then the vehicle having more mass has more momentum. This shows that the amount of momentum that an object has depends upon two variables: how much mass is moving and how fast it is moving. Since mass is a scalar quantity and velocity is a vector quantity, therefore momentum is a vector quantity. Its quantum is equal to the product of mass and its velocity, and the direction is the same as the direction of velocity. If a force acts on a car in the same direction as its motion, then the force speeds up the motion of the car and thereby its momentum. On the other hand, when the force acts on the car in the opposite direction, the force slows down the speed of the car and thereby its momentum. We know that whenever the velocity of an object changes, the motion is said to be accelerated motion. Hence, for an accelerated motion, the momentum of the object will also change. Since acceleration is caused only by the net force, same is the case for the change in momentum. For example, when a ball rebounds from a hard surface, the surface exerts a very large force on the ball, and there is a big change in its momentum. Similarly, when we hit a ball, we apply an unbalanced force to the ball that produces a change in its momentum. In order to measure the quantitative effect of force, Newton introduced the concept of momentum. According to Newton's second law of motion, the time rate of change in momentum of an object is directly proportional to the external force applied on it, and the change in momentum is in the direction of the force. If the initial and the final velocities of an object of mass m are u and v respectively, then the external force depends upon the product of mass of the object and the rate of change in the velocity of the object. Since the value of proportionality constant is unity, so the applied force is equal to the rate of change in momentum. In other words, force is equal to the product of mass and rate of change in velocity. We know that the acceleration is equal to the time rate of change of velocity. Therefore, force is equal to the product of the mass and the acceleration. This is the commonly known form of Newton's second law of motion. according to which the applied external force is equal to the time rate of change in linear momentum. It can be seen that small force acting over a long period of time can produce the same change in momentum as large force acting for a short period. Therefore, to reduce damages, the stopping time can be increased to a desired level. An obstacle of large size is required for reflection of sound waves. For more clarity, let us see an activity. Let's take two identical hollow pipes of sufficiently large and equal length. Arrange them on a table near a wooden board as shown. Place an alarm clock near the open end of one of the pipes and try to hear the sound of the clock through the other pipe. For an incident sound, the corresponding reflected sound can be heard if we place our ear exactly in the direction of an angle equal to the angle of incidence. If we displace the pipe, phenomenon of reflection of sound is used in many devices like megaphones, soundboards, hearing aids, and stethoscopes. Megaphone. Megaphone is a horn-shaped tube. The sound waves are prevented from spreading out by successive reflections and are confined to the air within the tube. Hearing aid. In the next problem, calculate the velocity of a body if its mass is 10 kg and it has a momentum equal to 50 Newton second. Again, by using the relation for linear momentum, the velocity of the body comes out to be 5 meter per second. One of the most fundamental concepts of physics is the law of conservation of momentum. You must have noticed that when a moving ball strikes a resting ball, most probably the moving ball stops and the resting ball is set into motion. This is due to the law of conservation of momentum, according to which if number of objects are interacting with each other, their total linear momentum remains the same before and after the interaction, provided that there is no external force acting on the system of the objects. We know that the external force acting on a system is equal to the rate of change in momentum. It can be noticed if the external force on the system is 0, the initial and final momentum comes out to be the same. Since the momentum is a vector quantity, therefore the linear momentum is conserved in magnitude and direction both. That is, the direction of the initial and final momentum remains the same. The most frequent application of momentum can be seen when two objects collide and they act as an isolated system. It is well established that when a collision occurs between two objects, total momentum of both the objects remains constant. That is, the total momentum of the two objects before the collision is equal to the total momentum of the two objects after the collision. Let's see an activity using Newton's pendulum. It It consists of a series of identical metal balls of the same size, and all the balls are suspended on a metal frame in such a way that they are just touching each other when at rest, as shown. When one ball is pulled away and is allowed to fall, it strikes the next ball of the series and comes to rest, whereas the last ball of the series acquires the same velocity and swings as high as the release height of the first ball. This shows that the balls simply exchange velocities. In other words, the final ball attains the momentum of the first ball. Let's repeat the activity by starting more than one ball in motion as shown. It can be noticed that the same number of balls on the opposite side swing almost as high as the release height. Once again, the balls simply exchange velocities, and the total momentum before the collision is the same as after the collision. Let us see some examples related to the law of conservation of momentum. Let us see a situation of an elastic collision. When a stationary trolley of mass m has an head-on collision with a moving trolley of the same mass, then after the collision, the first one starts moving with the velocity of the second trolley, while the second one comes to rest. That is, their velocity as well as their momentum are interchanged. Further, if both the trolleys are of unequal masses, then after the collision, the velocity of one trolley increases while that of the second decreases, and the total momentum of both the trolleys remains the same. Let us see a situation of an inelastic collision. When a stationary trolley of mass m has a head-on collision with a moving trolley of the same mass, then after the collision, both the trolleys move together with a velocity which is half of the velocity of the second one. Again, their momentum remains the same. Further, if both the trolleys are of unequal masses, then after the collision, both the trolleys move together in such a way that the total momentum of both the trolleys remains constant. Recoil of the cannon in opposite direction is also due to the conservation of momentum. Since the initial momentum of the system is zero, hence the cannon has to move in the opposite direction to conserve the momentum, as can be seen. Since the initial momentum of the system is zero, hence the cannon has to move in the opposite direction to conserve the momentum, as can be seen. Similarly, when a boy jumps out from a boat to the bank of a river, the boat slightly moves away from the bank because the initial total momentum of the boat and the boy is zero. When he jumps out from the boat to the bank, total momentum of the boy and the boat should also remain zero. This is possible only if the boat moves in the opposite direction. In the similar way, the upward motion of a rocket can be explained by the law of conservation of linear momentum. Let's try to solve some problems on the law of conservation of momentum. A field gun of mass 1500 kg fires a shell of mass 15 kg with a velocity of 150 meter per second. Calculate the velocity of the recoil of the gun. Since the initial momentum of the field gun along with the shell is zero, therefore, according to the law of conservation of the momentum, final momentum of the field gun and the shell should also remain zero. That gives the velocity of the field gun equal to 1.5 meter per second, and the negative sign indicates the recoiling of the gun.